So welcome to AGACAD Wall Plus webinar. My name is Povilas. I'm BIM application engineer here at AGACAD. Here we create applications for Autodesk Revit based on the needs of leading BIM practitioners. Our aim is to eliminate tasks that don't create value and are useless. AGACAD has developed the widest range of BIM software in the world. It covers wood and metal framing, precast concrete design, and MEP systems design. Today we're going to talk about BIM solutions called Wood Framing Wall Plus and Metal Framing Wall Plus. They're both intended for detailed design of prefabricated timber and steel walls, wall panels, and sort of panel systems. Okay, so Wood Framing BIM solution for Revit has also been recognized as an AEC industry partner solution by Autodesk itself. Okay, so just quick overview of key benefits of Wall Plus. It can auto-generate detailed multi-layered wall framing using predefined or custom rules and parameters. It can find structural and engineering clashes, cut and frame openings according to predefined rules. It can auto-generate details to wall studs or other structural members. It can control stud nogging, bridging, blocking, and other components of your structural composition of the wall. It can also configure complex L or T connections, add details as I mentioned, and add service holes and position them accordingly. Okay, so in this webinar we're going to cover how to design and generate walls and multi-layered wall panels. We're going to look at how to generate views, drawings, schedules, and produce drawing sheets. I will explain you briefly how collaboration can be done using shared files. And quickly I'm going to explain how to export data to CNC machines and production lines. Okay, we're going to also see some examples of external cladding. So we're going to end up with multi-layered walls generated using Wall Plus functionality. We're going to split walls into prefabricated panels later on using same Wall Plus functionality. And to finish off, we're going to sort all our structural members. And as I mentioned, we're going to produce shop drawings. Okay, so let's move on to our Revit model. Okay, right, so in this view, we have a few wall examples laid out with windows, without windows, walls that are sort of split in half for your prefabricated sort of construction method. And we have some L and T connections. Okay, so first off, we're going to frame this wall with 3 windows. If I just select the wall, go to Frame Wall button, and the tool is automatically going to distribute all structural framing elements throughout the entire wall. It is important to build your Revit model using native Revit elements like walls, roofs, floors, etc. And based on that, you're then going to start using Wall Plus or any other tool. Okay, so the wall has been framed. All the details are in place and all sort of structural members are just where they need to be. Things are cut automatically, okay? And we have double top plate, double bottom plate, service penetration, void, cuts right through all the studs, if that's for your electricity wiring or any other services, okay? Then let's move to this next one here. So just exactly the same. Wall Plus not just distributes the structural framing, we also are dealing with other layers of the wall, actually entire multi-layered wall panel, that we can use Wall Plus to do the work for us. Okay, so in this case we have a slightly different variation for window framing, door framing. We have headers set up. We have noggings at 1200, I believe, distance. Okay, and those two here, so I can multi-select more than one wall at one time, and it's going to frame those 2 walls. So I'm just going to go and drop my scope box to sort of briefly inspect our connections. Okay, so what we can do with those L junctions, if you go to configurations, parameters. Okay, that's where all our configurations are kept for those items. Okay, so in here we can see we have L, N, V, and T connection types. So for each connection that we are using, we can define how we want the connection to look like. Okay. So we're not going to go into configurations in this webinar, but just to quickly sort of let you understand how this all works. Okay. All right, so moving to the next wall, we do exactly the same. So this example is slightly different. We have smaller noggings going on, and they are actually turned 90 degrees the way I did it in my configurations. And we have double king studs and additional trimmers for the windows. Okay. Right, and the last one here. Okay, so if I just want to select those two walls, click on the frame wall. Okay, so the other important thing, like I mentioned before, once you have your Revit model in place that contains all native Revit elements, if you are using walls, so in this case, we ideally want to define our wall as accurately as possible. I appreciate this could change during the project, but if we put in the more information that we have, the more effectively we can sort of build our frames. So that this one was quite important to define our function, material thicknesses, what is structural material or not. And once we do that, we later on use link wall function. Okay, so those two wall segments are framed. We're going to add, if I go for frame additional layers, you should recognize all additional layers I haven't framed yet. Okay, so this wall has different kind of variation for a base plate. We have noggings distributed throughout the height of the wall, and secondary frame on the side, actually on both sides. Okay, so various elements can be aligned together manually. If I go to align elements or via configuration, we can already sort of preset how multiple frames are going to interact with each other. Okay, so for this one, instead of frame or additional elements, just going to go add to frame secondary frame. Okay, nothing is clashing, nothing is on top of each other, and it's very precise. We are working to millimeter precision, so all of that is in place. Okay, so moving on to the next example of metal framing walls. Wall Plus comes with sort of a library of families. Those families are used for when you frame your wall or add sheathing. So each structural member is a family in its own right, just like anything else in Revit. Okay, so to frame metal walls, we're just going to go to metal framing at the top of the ribbon and just pull out Wall Plus M. Okay, the interface is exactly the same as Wall Plus Timber. So we just click Frame Wall, select the wall we want to frame. Okay, so as you can see, the interface is quite self-explanatory for the most part. We have settings. We first load families into a new project. That's the first thing we do. We load families, like I mentioned, families that come together with Wall Plus. We load those into new project. And then we have configurations tab and link wall tab. Okay, so we see that our structural framing for metal wall has been spread across. Okay, in this case, we are using different sort of C+C and etc. and those kind of metal profiles for light gauge steel elements. Okay, so like I said, this element, for example, here is actually Revit family, which you can see here in Properties tab. We have those various kind of elements to be used for your configurations. When you create your configurations, you are asked to select which of those types and which of those families you want to use for your framing. Okay, and then just like any other family, we have a lot of parameters, constraints, and sort of quite a lot of data that goes into each family. You wouldn't have to worry about the data and all these parameters. The families are already preset. So let's just multi-select all remaining walls. So in this case, we have gravity points inserted automatically. We have details inserted here automatically. the structural framing of this metal wall. Okay, different kind of connections. Those connections come together with wall plus M and with the entire suite of framing. Right, so let's move to our third model, and I'm going to see some more lively scenario. So in this case, I have left a few walls unframed, but most of the framing is done. Okay, so let's just move to the first example here. Okay, so all of those are going to be timber frames. I'm going to just leave out metal framing. Okay, so in this example here, what I'm going to do is multi-select those three walls, and then if I go to frame wall, so the workflow is exactly the same. Like I said, if you're working in a new project, you first load your families for wall plus, and then you can start defining your configurations, and you can have as many configurations as you like. And also the great thing about it that those configurations are kept at your local hard drive at all times. You can specify the location. If location has changed, you have moved your files, or you have created another set of configurations, you can define the path to the new location and use sort of fresh configurations. Okay. Also, those files can be shared between your team. So if there are multiple of you working on one project, someone has created configurations and want to share with everyone else, you just need to send those files to your colleague, or whether it's you are using a cloud service or you have internal network that you share your files, you can just drop your configuration files in that shared location. Okay, so our main frames are in place. Okay, so I believe those walls also have additional layers. We have nailers. Let's have a look. So multi-select those three walls. I'm gonna add, I don't think they have secondary frame, but I think we should add nailers to the inside and the outside to fix our cladding too. Okay, right, so we added all of our structural sort of layers and additional layers as well. We're gonna do now is split parts, meaning add, we're gonna add our sheathing and then later on a vertical siding. Okay, I have split parts. Nothing has changed because I have parts visibility to show original switched on, so I just need to switch it to both. Okay, we can see floor sheeting is in place, but nothing else has appeared. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go by a link wall and check what happened. Okay, so our layer, we have only one sheet layer of sheeting. Okay, so I'm just going to map it from fresh. Okay, so we're going to use this configuration. And again, if I multi-select those, okay, it is also important how you connect your walls. So in this case, the walls are allowed to join, and I believe using this. So if you go to geometry tab here and you use this Revit function to define how you, yeah, basically it's that wall joins. Okay, so you define how the wall are going to join, whether mitre joint is going to be used or butt joint. Ideally, there's a butt joint that we want to be able to sort of join evenly. Okay, so now if I go back to both, I have my sheeting in place. Okay, just one layer of plywood. Okay, and we can add additional layers, of course, whether we have sort of more interesting detail going on the inside of the house. Okay. So just quickly switch back to original, and we're going to add siding to this wall. 3 walls selected, drop down menu, add siding. Okay, there are 2 layers of siding per each wall. As you see in this example below, vertical siding, 1 layer are those sort of slats, timber slats, and then the next layer is just the trimming around the edges. Okay. Again, that can all be customized. This can be wider, thinner. I mean, it's limitless, so you can just build your own sort of bespoke configurations for siding as for anything else. So like you already, I'm sure, see that the interface, like I said, is quite easy to use. We have all sort of important things lined up here on the right of the toolbar, and then we have specific functions for specific tasks. Okay, so frame wall is sort of most commonly used, and you can use all those functions in a drop-down menu for framing your walls. Then split parts has all to do with sheathing, insulation, and other sort of additional layers that don't make up the structural part of the wall. Then we have number elements, which comes handy when you start preparing your shop drawings. You first number your elements and your structural framing members and walls as well. And then once you do that, you then go to next tab, create assembly. So by creating assembly, what you're essentially doing is creating a shop drawings. Okay, we're going to look at it later. Okay, so our siding is applied. Okay, it's worked out pretty well around our windows. Okay, if we just quickly cut, let's go box. Okay, everything is in place. Doesn't seem like anything is clashing or is on top of each other. Okay, the siding comes with a profile. Again, that can be customized. I mean, it's sky's the limit for sort of configuration-wise. So we can have a different profile, spaced out differently, etc. Okay, I switch to both. I'm able to see all of my layers, including sheathing and structural framing. Okay, simple base plate, double plate, and service void, which we can have different diameter. We can spread it differently along the wall to fit our sort of requirements. Okay, floorboards as well. And we had a webinar on Floor Plus, I think few weeks ago or a week ago, so you can check that on YouTube. The recording is already there. Okay, right, so let's move to the next example. Okay, in this case we have horizontal siding, timber boards. Okay, perhaps I can see 3.2 meters, I think. Okay, so again, first off, switch to original, and then we have a few walls that are left unframed. If I select those two walls and add main frame. Okay, so going back to interface, I'm going to touch base on how to build log wall briefly, and then yep, we have sort of covered creating assemblies and shop drawings. I'm going to do in the next example, I'm going to actually create a shop drawing. Here we have some additional sort of functions of wall plus. So it lets you align elements one to another, and a few other handy things. Then we can update the frame if something has changed, to sort of update configurations for a particular frame. We don't necessarily have to go to configurations. There's a quicker way to do that. So those two tabs, this one allows you to update your frame, and this one allows you to update anything that has to do with openings, window openings, door openings, basically a part of your wall frame that connects to the opening. Okay, so using just those two, you can update, and once you update, the updates will be generated instantly. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna add nailers, and then I'm gonna split parts. So generally speaking, wood framing wall plus automates wood framing work with walls in Revit projects. It's a powerful, flexible, and easy to use tool that helps you to make optimal choices, move faster, and avoid errors at every BIM stage, from design and documentation to wall segment fabrication and construction. Okay, so the base plate in this case does something else. We have a single plate that just lays on the prefabricated floor panel, for example, and then just another plate that's turned 90 degrees, and then two bottom sill plates, okay, top plates, okay. And then also our plasterboard. Okay. And the boards also extend to meet those other boards. Okay, and it's a small piece that just cuts right into between the two. Okay, so moving to our third example. Okay, so I have different variation of cladding going on right here, and I have just one wall left unfinished. Okay, so if I just try to select that one wall. So again, this is slightly different way, sort of different approach of framing. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to split parts for that wall. So this wall is going to have 5 individual prefabricated wall panels. Okay, again, why I did switch to both. Just for clarity, I'm going to drop down scope box. Okay, and as you see, by splitting parts, I've managed to get my exact dimensions that I defined in the configurations panel and configurations here. So I get exact dimensions of each prefabricated wall panel. So what they are missing, actually, they are missing actual frames. Okay, so if I go to, if I go to create assembly drop-down menu, part assembly menu, and if I just select this one panel and then select automatically all other panels. I have 5. If I go to frame wall, I'm going to add the frame to each of those panels. Okay, so again, if I go back to original, I just select that wall and add nailers. Okay, again, if I select the wall and add siding, this should add 2 layers of siding in this case, just like before, although in this case we're using 2 layers to have our outer layer of siding overlapping the inner layer of siding. Okay, so that's what I meant by 2 layers of cladding. Okay, just a standard way of cladding. Nothing special, but of course this can be customized freely. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to keep this window here. We're going to number our walls first, and we're going to number our parts. We can number our elements, but because I have quite a lot of walls that already framed, it's going to take a while, so I'm going to miss that. What we are basically doing with those, like I said, we are inputting information. The tool is automatically generating information and placing into identity data. Okay, so once we've done that, we just select one. Actually, we multi-select all 5 of those and then create part assembly. Okay, it's asking us what kind of job drawing configuration we want to use. I'm just going to use frame example configuration. Okay, so the tool is generating assemblies from all these 5 panels, and by generating assemblies, it also creates shop drawings that are going to go on the assemblies drop-down menu, okay, in your project browser. Right, so let's have a look. So it automatically placed our schedules and drawing views on the sheet. Okay, so like again, configurations here for your wall frames. Same principle applies for creating your drawing configurations. So essentially, if you go to drawing configurations, you have quite a big selection of functions. Okay, you can choose which views you want to create, what view template to apply, what rules of dimensioning and tagging to apply, and all that, those kind of things. Okay, you can apply sheathing, you can choose which schedules you want to create, etc. Okay, so that's just quickly to show you. But all of that is done automatically. Drawings are in place. Views are defined in the configuration of drawing configurations. Those views are created automatically, schedules, and everything is dimensions are put on the drawing view automatically. Views are named, schedules are in place. We even get a 3D view. Okay, we can apply a different template if we like. Okay, we can change. Change that, and then if we just switch to original. Okay. So all that is customizable again. Okay, so we have our assemblies created. You can disassemble, you can update assembly, etc. So let's go back to the timber framing examples, and I believe there were some drawings generated for those. Okay, so there are a few drawings. So if I go to drop-down menu, those views were placed automatically on those sheets. Okay, so sheets are created also by the tool. Okay, so in this case, I have horizontal siding drawing, 3D view, schedules that describe everything, all detailed information is input here. Okay, so another sheet for mainframe. Okay, all structural numbers are tagged and dimensions put automatically. Okay. Sheeting of the back of the wall. Okay, so all of that is under assemblies, and those are the two walls that we just looked at drawings of, and those gravity points are here inserted automatically. And let's just drop down. Okay. Details are also in place. Okay. The other great thing you can do, actually, you can generate your insulation in between the mainframe. So in between plates and studs, you can have your insulation layer. So that's done via panel configurations, where you can create your insulation configuration, define the size and the layout in those parameters, and just click on click to split parts, and it's going to appear automatically. Okay. Okay, and once this is complete with multi-layered walls are in place, so we go to the last example. Okay, so it's quite simple log cabin. Okay, we can change how logs connect to each other as well. But just to demonstrate to you quickly how to build a log wall, so there has some parameters as well here. Okay, but if we just use that main sort of button to build a log wall, the tool is going to automatically generate and place those logs. And on the inside of the cabin, there are two additional layers of nailers and plasterboard. Okay, if I go to split parts to get my plasterboard. And then I'm going to add my nailers. Okay. Okay, so my plasterboard is here. Entire sheets, they are placed according to the predefined rules. Okay, and the logs were sort of cut according to the window opening, and additional detail is placed. Okay, opening, trim, wood cut. Okay, so all that is generated automatically. Okay, and then to delete a wall, again, delete the frame, click on any structural member of the frame, and it will get deleted automatically. Okay, we just have our Revit wall left in that place, along with nailers and sheathing. Okay, so there you have it. I've quickly demonstrated some features of Wall Plus. This is just a gentle breeze over all of the functions, and like you saw, we didn't go into configurations, and we actually didn't touch quite a lot of things. But generally speaking, you can get a hint of how we can build frames using Wall Plus and then create drawings as well. So thanks again, and hopefully see you in the future webinars. Thank you.
AGACAD, building BIM together.